Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of I've Never Told Anyone This But by Soft Serve Studios. Today I have with me Karen, who is a self-described travel addict. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I'm delighted to be with you. Talk about travel. Everyone
Yes.
loves to hear about travel. So,
Yeah, I agree. Just even reading some of your blog posts, it's like, oh, I want to go there, and like, oh, that's a good point. Like, if I ever do try that, so it's really is inspiring.
yeah, it's one of those things that I got hooked on, and I really do mean I'm an addict. I was going to call my first book Travel Junkie until I was told by my publisher I was not allowed to do that. So, so that went away. So instead it became Travel Mania. But I have been hooked on travel from a very, very young age. And when I was 17, I left home by myself, moved to Europe, ended up living there for 3 years, and that was it. I was completely smitten and have changed careers and dumped boyfriends and changed just about everything in my life so that I could travel because that's been the driving force because I just truly love it so much. And
Wow.
my goal in life is to get everybody else to travel too.
Yes. Yes.
And you know, for a while. So, and it seems to be paying off. Um, Now, here's something I haven't told many people, but it was a thrill for me, a genuine thrill. I went to the theater. Um, I live in New York and I live very near Lincoln Center, which is wonderful. I'm there all the time. And walked into a performance and sat down. And the two seats in front of me were completely empty. And at intermission, two women came up and said, "We think those seats are empty. Could we move there?" I said, "Yeah, it's fine with me." And then the woman looked at me and goes, "Are you Karen?" Now I have no idea who she is. And I mean, absolutely not a clue. And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh, yeah, I've been following your blog for a long time. And I have to tell you, you've really inspired me. And I finally booked a trip to Japan that I've wanted to do for the last 10 years." And I went, "Yes." It was, I
Yeah.
mean, I was so thrilled by it. I was so absolutely thrilled by it. I've had other things like that happen, but not quite so random as that one, where people have
Right.
said, "Oh, because of you, I'm now feeling as though I have the courage to go travel." So,
Wow.
yeah.
You weren't expecting that when you went to that movie, though, at all.
Oh no, 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 not at all. It was just absolutely out of the blue, and could not have. It made my day. In fact, it made my week. It was just one of those truly great moments that you just go, "Yeah, I'm making an impact. That's wonderful."
Yeah, she'd wanted to do it for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, yep. And so got her to go, which is great. And I'm the first one that random people will send me notes saying, "I'm planning on going to such and such. Have you been there and what advice can you give me?" And that happens on a very regular basis. And I'm happy to do it. I mean, that's not an issue for me. I'm very happy to give whatever advice I can.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, and I just hit a milestone. I have now been to 100 countries.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yay. Okay. Over 90. Now we're at 100.
100. Yeah, I went to five new ones this year. The last one was Taiwan, which was a fabulous trip. It was so much fun. Oh my God, it was just great. It's somewhere, I'd been to mainland China a couple of times. That's the other thing. Of those 100 countries, more than half I've been to multiple times. So, because I used to travel a lot for business internationally. And so I got to a lot of places quite often. Um, but I'd never been to Taiwan before, but I had been to mainland China, and they're so different, I couldn't believe it. Um, and that surprised me. I kind of expected not that it would be totally different, but that it would, or not totally the same, but I didn't expect it to be as different as it was. And the difference had to do with the food. The food in Taiwan is unbelievably good. I mean, it's just amazing. The people were so kind and so friendly, um, absolutely everywhere we went. The other thing is that anybody who's educated in Taiwan speaks English. So it doesn't matter where you go in the country, there will be people who speak English, and that's not true in mainland China at all. So, very different. Um, but boy, was it a great trip. Ooh. And the food was unbelievable. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful country as well.
Yeah, I did see some pictures, and if anyone's listening, I recommend checking out Karen's Instagram. She's got pictures from all over the world. Um, yeah, you said you had someone who was from there kind of helping you at one of the restaurants pick out the best dishes and
She was the niece of someone I know, and my friend had arranged for us to get together for dinner. And I was with my grandnephew, who's 18 years old and just going into college, and she's in college. And so they hit it off immediately. They had a lot more to talk about than I had to talk about with them, because they were both interested in the same kinds of things. They're both into science, which is not my thing at all. So they really hit it off. But yeah, she was okay. Now we should really get this. This is absolutely the typical thing that we all eat and we all love. Not anything I would have ordered, and she was right. It was fabulous. We also took a cooking class that was, and she that was so much fun. And she took us to the market first and introduced us to all these foods that I'd never seen before, much less tasted. And she would buy little bits of different things and explain them, which was really fun. And then we went back to her apartment and we learned to cook some things. So it was a great success. It's
oh, that's
really fun.
so fun. So
Yeah.
you love to travel, but you also like to cook.
Oh yeah, I love to cook and I love taking cooking classes wherever I am. I've taken a lot of them all around the world. And even if I don't cook the things when I get home, it's still fun. And you see different ways that people prepare things, and some of them have been in people's homes. I've done a couple in professional kitchens. I've done some where they've been outside. I did one in Bali that was under the trees, and they had set up stations, and we were cooking out there, which was great fun. So yeah, all different kinds of places, and usually they take you on a market tour. And at this point, I keep thinking, oh, well, I've seen, every fruit and vegetable and spice there is, but oh no, there's always more. And things I have not seen and never tasted, and or that I had no idea how they made, never a clue. And so, look at how they do that. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So that's great fun. Yeah. But the other thing is I'm into random events. And one of the things that I truly wanted to teach my grandnephew, his name is Tristan, and I want to teach everybody else, is you should say yes to things. Unless you think it's going to be dangerous, say yes. We, the woman who had given us the cooking class, her name is Ivy, had said, "Oh, you should go over to this brewery. It's great fun. You'll really like it." Well, an 18-year-old, yeah, let's go to the brewery. Okay, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. You're of legal age. Let's go. Let's go. And so we went to the brewery. And as we're walking through the property, this guy rides up on a bicycle and says, "You want some free beer?"
Oh,
Sure. I figured he was going to take us to the tasting room. But no, he took us to what looked to be like the break room of the shipping department. It's the only way I can describe it, because there were kegs everywhere and cartons. And we come inside, and there are, I think, 8 people. And first thing they all yell out is, "So where are you from?" And I say, "Oh, I'm from New York." And they go, "Oh, New York, great, great, great."
yeah.
And then Tristan says, "And I'm from Indiana." And they start going, "Pacers, Pacers." It was while they were in the series and very much doing well. And he's looking at them like, how did they know about the Pacers? Turned out there were two Taiwanese people, two Japanese people, a couple of Koreans, I think, a German guy, a British guy. I mean, we had this whole group of people. And our host, who I now think of as Mr. Bicycle Man, kept bringing us beers. And we all got into this great conversation. And then he disappeared for a while, came back with two other people. And now we're all getting a little drunk because he keeps bringing beer out. And then he says, well, you have to have something to eat. It wouldn't be polite of me to invite guests and not have anything to eat. So there's a hot plate, and he comes scurrying back in with a big pot, and he's cooking us duck stew on this hot plate in this break room where people are coming in and getting things out of their lockers. People are sitting down at computers and working, and they all seem to think this is perfectly normal. I mean, it was just the oddest thing. It was so much fun, though. And my nephew said to me afterwards, I would not have done that. I just wouldn't have done it. And he said, but I'm so glad we did. That was so much fun. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to learn to say yes. You just have to learn to say yes.
Mhm.
Um, and we had another one, same trip. We were in a different part of Taiwan, and we were staying at a bed and breakfast. And the owner of the bed and breakfast had this spectacular garden, and I love gardens. And I'm wandering around, and he comes in, and I'm admiring it, saying, "Oh, what a gorgeous, gorgeous garden!" And he started asking me, "Well, do you know what the name of this flower is in English?" And I said, "Yeah, that's a pansy." How wonderful! Anyhow, so he took me through his garden, and I was giving him the translation into English, and then he would look it up and go, "Oh yeah, that's right." Then he said, "Well, you have to see my friend's garden." And Tristan looks at me, "We're doing this again, huh?" Yes, we are. So we went off got in his car, went on, I had no idea where we were going, went off to his friend's garden. It was I'd never seen a garden like that in my life. It was the equivalent of in New York City, you think of things as city blocks, but it was as long as a city block. And it was a hallway, and one side had hanging planters with these gorgeous plants, and the other side was like boxes on a rail, and it was like walking down this corridor of flowers with benches and sculpture. It was like going to a gallery, but of flowers, and it was spectacular because they have great weather there all year round, so they can grow things all year round. And so then his friends started grilling me on, so what's this flower and what's this flower? And when he realized that I knew a lot about flowers, he said, "Oh, I have to take you into the back." So he takes me into the back where they grow. He also has a restaurant, all the herbs, and for the restaurant. So what's this herb? And he would pinch off, smell, and go, "Oh, that's basil." Anyhow, we went through the entire garden, and then he offered us dinner on the house.
Very nice.
Yeah, and it was a great dinner. And again, my nephew was just like, "Wow, this is amazing." I said, "Just have to say yes. You just have to say yes."
Yeah, and the
So,
food keeps coming and
well, and it's how you get to really meet people and interact with the culture. It's one of those things is if you're going there to see the sights, to check things off the list, that's one kind of travel. I did that many, many years ago, and even then, that was not my favorite part of travel. My favorite part of travel is sitting down in a cafe and trying to engage people in conversation. That's how you get to know what do the people there do and think, and where would you recommend for dinner? I don't want to go from the guidebook, or go from online. I want to go where people there like to go, and it's way more fun, way, way more fun.
very
So
nice. Oh yeah, I kind of wish we had more of that like sitting outdoors at a cafe culture, you know? You sometimes find it and like there are some people who just love to like chat with the person next to them. Um but I don't think you see it as much. And I think when you're traveling, it's like, I'm a stranger to everyone. So let me just, like you said, strike up a conversation.
I'll give you a couple of tips if you really want to have a conversation and you don't know how to do it or you're a little shy. If it's in a country where you don't speak the language, go with a book that has a very prominent title in English. Can't be a Kindle. You have to have a book and sit there and read it, particularly on a college campus. And I'm going to show you my book, and you
Yes.
sit there, read it. And because they see an English title, people all around the world want to practice English. It's a given because English has become the lingua franca that we all have. And if they see that you're a native English speaker, they really want to speak with you. And I have gotten into more conversations just doing that. And people come up to you and again just say, yes, sure, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Love to talk with you. And just start out with simple things. Where are you from? What are you studying? Or if it's not in, if you're at a cafe, you know, do you live here? Have you lived here your whole life? It doesn't have to be a deep conversation. It'll become more interesting as you talk.
Mhm.
And so that's one way of doing it. And the other one that's a surprise to everybody, is if you go on to Yelp, you can look up restaurants that have communal dining tables all around the world. And if you go to a communal dining table, you're not interrupting someone if you start to talk with them. Because if they didn't want to talk to anyone, they would not be at the communal table.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And and I should say, I usually travel by myself. So I want to talk to people. Now, you don't have to be by yourself. It's easier if you're by yourself, just because, nobody is going to break into a conversation if you're sitting there intently speaking with someone. But
Right.
if you're by yourself, nobody's going to feel at all concerned about talking with you.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, those are great tips. Yes.
Yeah. And they work. That's the other thing, is they really work. So, and I've gotten into, I meet people everywhere I go. And it's part of it's a learned skill. And the first time you do it, you feel a little funny about it. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Now I have absolutely no compunction about doing it. I'll talk to anyone.
Right.
What's the worst they can do? Not want to talk to you? You're never going to see them
Mhm.
again anyhow. What difference does it make? I mean, really,
Yeah.
what's the downside? And the answer is there is none.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know if this has happened to you, but I hope it does. If somebody in another country comes up to you and says, "Are you Karen?" Like that would be
That would
that
be
would be so good. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love the book suggestion. I'm constantly surrounded by books. I've got piles everywhere. I don't know when I'm gonna finish one. Sometimes it happens, but mainly just like reading your writing, you just have such a good vocabulary. And I'm guessing it comes from all the books you're reading in all these different countries.
Well, I read all the time anyhow. And by the way, I have to look it up here. I found a word for that the other day. I was so excited. I had never heard of this word. And it was like, oh my God, I've got to post about this because it's a Japanese word that's called sandoku. And it describes the act of buying books and never reading them.
Yeah.
What a great word, or what? It
Yes,
said
it is. Sundoku.
Sunduku. T,
Sunduku.
Tsundoku. Tsundoku.
Duku. So cool. Oh my gosh.
And I thought, what a perfect word. I love it. I
Yeah,
absolutely. And I
it
know
is.
lots
It
of
is.
people who relate to that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's like a shoe problem and a book problem is where I'm sitting. But like now that I've discovered, and I tell people, well, Libby is like, I'm always talking about Libby. It's like Kindles, like you said. Sometimes a real book is best. Then also my local library has a holdover where they used to deliver books, and not everybody could just go to the library, and they still do it. So I've got like a little stack on my porch right now. They're going to pick it up and bring my next pile. So at least that way I don't feel like I'm just buying them, but then it still stacks. It's
Yeah,
still, but no, that's such
absolutely.
a great word.
Yeah, I saw that and I went, oh my God, it's so perfect. Yeah, every so often that's the other thing is now here's something I don't tell anyone, since that's what this is about. I think I'm on 7 different lists that every single day I get a word of the day. And I probably remember 1/10 of them, maybe, but I love reading all these interesting words. And there's one that's all foreign words, and there's one that's, they're just from all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And it's one of my favorite things to do is just to find all these new words.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I do have my vocabulary always was pretty good, but it's gotten a lot better.
Right, right. Well, thank you for
So,
sharing that with me. Yes, I feel like now I know something that I'm the first to know, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, it's not anything I've ever said anything to anyone about, but in fact, I do it. So, and every day I have my little, that's one of the first things I do is look at my little list of words.
Cool, cool. I have a friend who every day she sends me a little inspirational picture, like grateful to be alive. And I really want to ask her where she gets these. I've been meaning to, but like it's like, first thing in the morning, it's nice to have that routine of like, I know I'm gonna get this in my inbox. Yes.
For sure. And I frequently, if there's a really interesting one, I share it. Just because, like this one, I shared because I thought it was such a great word.
It really
And
is. It really is. I'll have to remember that.
yeah, um, but it's a good way to start the day. Feels like a good way to start the day. That and I
Really
write every morning. I do write every single morning. I mean, I'm
nice.
retired now, which is nice because I couldn't have done it when I was working, but I am retired. And so, first thing, I have a dog, as you saw, and I get up and walk my dog, come back and feed him, sit down at my computer, and I look at my email and I write for 2 to 3 hours every morning, pretty much 7 days a week. I have gotten myself into the rhythm of doing that. Um, I shouldn't say 7 days a week because 2 days a week I actually go work out first thing in the morning, but I come back and I write. But I write every single day because I know that that's something I need to do,
Mhm.
and it's good for me, and it's good for my soul.
Yeah, yeah. You are a writer, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, one
Um,
of my favorite things. Right
are
after
you working on a new book or
training.
series of articles? What are we doing?
Well, I just had a couple of articles published.
Mhm.
I'm working on a couple more, and I am almost finished with my third book, and I am currently looking for a new publisher. So we shall see. I've got a lot of inquiries out and beginning to have conversations with people. This one's a little bit different, and this one is meant for an older population. And unlike the first two, which were travel stories, I mean, that's what they are, travel stories from my life. And kind of think of it as a memoir through travel stories, maybe. But this one, one of the people in my writing group described it as it's a how to and why to for people who are over age 50, why they should travel. Because I've been teaching a lot of classes about travel, and I've been on live radio shows and, just all kinds of things where I've been interacting with mostly with seniors. And a lot of them, especially since COVID, are really afraid to travel, and it's really holding them back. Or they've lost their travel partner, or it's they don't understand the how-tos. It's the technology has gotten past them. or they just haven't done it in a long time, or they have some mobility issues. There's a million reasons why they don't travel anymore. And what they think about are all the problems that could happen. They forget about how much fun it is.
Hmm.
And my thing is always, I have a really bad back. I've had 3 major surgeries on my back. If I can travel and get around, you can travel and get around.
Yeah.
Travel the way I did when I was 30 or 20 or even 50. But you know what? I can still travel. Just have to think about it a little bit differently. So this is I interviewed about 20 people who are over age 50 about their travel experiences and what tips they had. And that's what the book is. So, and then
No.
people who are younger have said, "Oh, I've got to give that to my parents," or "Oh,
Hmm.
I've got to give it to my grandparents," because they're exactly what you just described. They are afraid to go travel, and I keep encouraging them, and they come up with a million excuses.
Hmm.
So this is the book for them.
Nice. Yeah, same. I as soon as I read your the article in your latest Instagram post, I sent it right to my mom right away. Like she is sort of similar. I'm not sure when the last trip she took is, but stuff has happened and she used to go, I mean, I feel like she was gone most of the year because she was dating someone who was on cruise ships as a job.
Right.
Um and she went everywhere. She went more places than me. But yeah, yeah, definitely. Oh, my dad has been definitely more places than me. He's the one who took me traveling when I would grow up. Like I've been to maybe a dozen countries, not quite 100, but he just got back from a tour of Southeast Asia, went to Thailand and Vietnam and all these places. And yeah, even even with some mobility issues. Yeah, I love the way you frame that of we're thinking of the problems when we think about how fun it is. That's when it changes the game. That's a really important perspective shift for like anything in life.
Absolutely. If you focus on the negative, it's hard to get past it. If you focus on what the positives are and how much fun it's going to be and what the benefits of it are, and there's many, many benefits, um, suddenly it's not as difficult as you think it is, especially if you have someone who can give you practical advice. So it's this mix of sort of inspiration to travel and some really practical advice. In fact, I have people in my writing group who are considerably younger than I am, and they keep saying, "I'm saving this chapter because I need this information when I travel."
Yeah.
And it's great, I'm glad you're saying that, um,
Mhm.
because it's not, it's some of it is specific for people who are older, but most of it is just really good practical travel advice.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and you've shifted to like an interview style.
well, it's some of it's interview and some of it's my own experiences and some of it's just straight information, but told. It's like one of the things that I discovered when I was looking to see, is there really a need for this book? A, there are not many books out there that address these issues for an older population. But beyond that, the ones that are out there either are so incomplete, there's not enough information about the things you really need to know, and there's a couple that absolutely talk down to people. And it's like, oh, come on.
Mm.
You're talking to me like I'm a 5-year old, not like I'm a person with a lot of experience and knowledge and intelligence. Can we back off that? That's not, I mean, it's the way that I write, the way that people have described the way I write. It's like sitting down and having a conversation with a good friend.
Mhm.
And that's the way I write. And that's the way I intend it to be read, as opposed to, you know, prescribing things or, being very, it's just here's what my experience, here's what this person said, and here are some great ideas how to make it easier and more fun.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. that definitely comes across. I mean, exactly. Um, it's like, it's almost like you've come home from the trip and you're telling me stuff, and that's how I'm reading it. And that's just, it's something that you wrote maybe a month ago, but that it comes across as if it's happening as a conversation. I couldn't have described it better.
And that really is my writing style. It's very conversational, and it's not, you know, it's I'm taking you along with me on my trips. And,
Yeah.
as a fun travel companion, come with me.
Yeah.
So that's the goal here. And I am passionate about getting people to travel because I think it would solve a lot of the world's problems if you understood that truly people around the world, and I honestly don't care what country you go to, it can be anywhere on the globe. When you talk to the people, not the governments, but when you talk to the people want the same things. They want to have a nice place to live, although that may vary in what they think a nice place to live is. They want to have good food. They want their children to live a good life. Um, and that's universal. And people around the world are friendly. And I'm always amazed by that. I mean, I've been in places that people have said, "Oh, you're going there. Why would you go there?" I don't know. I've never been there. Let's find out. And people have been uniformly friendly. I mean, I took a trip to the Middle East earlier this year, and I was in Bahrain. My dog is crying here. Come here, come here, come say hello. Come on. No, he doesn't want to come up. Come on. Don't cry at me. Um, um, I was in Bahrain and I was in Qatar and Oman, and people said, "Why would you go there?" I said, "Well, because I've never been there and I'm curious." And particularly Oman, I loved. Oh my God, it was fabulous. It is absolutely beautiful. The people were incredibly friendly and nice. And unlike, I don't, the same trip, but I'd been there before. Went to Dubai and Abu Dhabi, which are very ultra. Here he is. Gonna say hello to everybody. There you go.
No.
Um, uh, Dubai and Abu Dhabi are these huge cities with, incredible skyscrapers. The tallest building on the globe is in Dubai. And everywhere you go, they're building. And then you get to Oman, and the buildings are all low. There isn't a building in the entire country that's over 6 stories high. And I asked someone why that was, and his answer was because we consider the mountains sacred, and everybody should have a view of the mountains, no matter where you live.
Wow.
And so everywhere you go, you see mountains. And I mean everywhere you go. You can be in the most populous city, and there are mountains. And it's a beautiful green country, unlike, you think of the Middle East as desert and sand. Oman is green. And I mean, they do have some desert, but most of it is quite green. And it's again beautiful, and people are very friendly, no matter where we went.
Yeah. It's surprising and so special with that's how they're gonna like honor just the landscape and that's wow. Because I'm from California. I'm in California, and we love our mountains. And maybe somebody in near the Rockies or something will say those are hills, but um, it's like if I go somewhere and I don't see mountains, I feel very strange, and I'm genuine. Like I went to Florida, and I was kind of like I couldn't like landmark myself. But that sounds so cool. Just
It,
anywhere you go in the whole
anywhere,
country.
and there are mountains everywhere. I mean, there's nowhere in the country that's flat. There are literally, I don't think I ever saw a view the entire time I was there that didn't have a mountain in it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, it really is a beautiful country. And I'd never been to Oman. I had no idea. I went there not knowing a whole lot about it. And, and then it was like this magical discovery of this wonderful place. So. That happens a lot, you know. Again, if you think about the people and not the government, it's always better.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, there's definitely some narratives going on there. And like, how are we gonna know unless we actually find out for ourselves or have a real live human being have these conversations and come back and tell us, hey, they're people too.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, and it's we we believe as Americans that we are the first in the world about everything. And I have to tell you that is so far from the truth, it is comical. I was in South Korea 14 years ago. And 14 years ago now, put yourself back, that's 2011. Nobody had, I didn't see a newspaper or a piece of a book anywhere. Everybody was reading on their phones. They were watching morning news on their phone. And this was on the subway, didn't matter where you were, there was total connectivity everywhere. Nobody paid with cash. I always get in and I change money. When I left, I had the exact same amount of money as when I came in because nobody even knew what to do with it. I went into a coffee shop, wanted to get a cup of coffee, and I handed her some bills, and she looked at me like, "What is this?" She honestly didn't know. And she walked over to her manager, and I didn't hear, couldn't translate, but it was like, "What do I do with this?" She didn't have a clue. And, she's like, finally, I said, I pulled out a credit card, and she said, "Well, yeah, but they don't even use credit cards. They were taking their phones and swiping them." And this was 2011. We're not even there yet.
Mm-mm. Yeah, so
And
imagine 14 years later what they're doing today, you know?
yeah, and um, all the buses in the city were electric. Every bus in the city. All the cars were either electric or hybrid. And again, 2011. It gives you pause when you think, yeah, maybe we're not in the forefront here. Maybe there are other places. I mean, Samsung is from Korea, South Korea, as
Hmm.
is HG and a few others, big electronics companies. That's what they do. And in Taiwan, I went to the section, which is now there's two towns. They are the major chip makers for the entire globe. And I went to a museum of technology there, very small museum. And you start realizing that they have been the inventors of more of the inner workings of electronics and healthcare and all of this than anybody else on the globe. And they located these two towns right near the airport because everything gets flown out. But and I intellectually knew it, but then I got there and I went, oh yeah, right. And factory after factory after factory after factory where they're producing components for computers and high tech.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like kind of like, oh, the iPhone came from California. And it's like, well, there was more of like a design thing, like more than like a real technology thing.
That's right.
Um, but I
All the
hadn't realized that, yeah, the inventions. I know production, but
the chips are coming from Taiwan for
yeah.
almost everything. For almost everything, which is one of the reasons, by the way, politically, that China wants Taiwan back and the United States is determined not to let them have Taiwan. So it goes into now the politics of what's going on in the world. And it's
Mhm.
based on chip technology as much as anything else.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So again, you know these things intellectually, and then you see it and you go, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Suddenly it
Like,
sinks in.
um, I want to go back to the flowers.
Yeah.
Because like I'm still thinking about that story and there was a line in your article about French Polynesia where you're saying that you saw flowers you've never seen before. And I'm such a botanical person.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I do see flowers I've never seen before. And I'm like, where did you come from? And why haven't I seen you around? Like, especially wildflowers on like the side of the path or something.
Right.
But that sounds so cool. Like, completely other side of the world, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. French Polynesia, which I went to in February. I said I have to keep where I went straight because this has been the first year of my life. I guess it isn't, but it's the first year of my life that I have gone to on a not a business trip, but a trip that I wanted to go on every single month for this entire year. That was a
Hey.
goal. I was going to do that. I retired at the end of 2019, and my goal had been to take 2 years off and travel. Well, we know what happened to that idea. No, Brooke,
Mhm.
do not squeak. Uh-uh. He's squeaking behind me. Um, that so clearly that didn't happen. So this was the year that I decided I'm going to do it. So I have gone somewhere different every month of the year, and will for the rest of the year. So this is the
Mhm.
one month. This is the only month that I'm home the whole month, actually. Um, but French Polynesia was somewhere that I had wanted to go and had been planning to go during that time period. So this was my chance, and it is truly remote. They get more tourists come to New York City, to Manhattan in one day than go to all of French Polynesia in a year. Okay. And so you're there, and there's not that many tourists. And most of them are on two islands, either Tahiti or Moorea, and maybe Bora Bora, but there aren't, but more Moorea and Tahiti, because those are the easiest ones to get to. But when you go out to some of the out islands, we were in one, I was on a cruise, and we went to one, um, um, Nuvakiva, I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, Nuakiva. And I was talking to some people, and I said, "So how many people, come during the year? How many cruise ships?" He said, "Well, you're the first one this year," and it was February. I said, "Oh, okay." "And how many will come in to here?" He said, "Well, last year we had three, and that was for the whole year
Mhm.
because it's a hard place to get to." And I have never been, and that includes being in the outback in Australia, includes, well, in Antarctica, the air was equally clear, and equally in the Arctic Circle. Um, but the air was so pure, and things were growing because it's this perfect weather. It never gets really hot. It never gets cold. It's sunny all the time. They have multiple seasons of everything that they grow. It's not like they grow once during the year. They grow two or three crops during the year. And the food was just, oh my God, the flowers and the fruits. Um, I was walking, I was walking through an area. I had stopped we got into a port. I can't even remember what island it was, and it doesn't make any difference because it would happen anywhere. And I wanted to see the island. Well, there's no tours, there's no anything. Um, but I see a taxi driver. Aha, how I know he's a taxi driver? He's holding a sign saying taxi because the truck was a pickup truck, and it had benches in the back with a little thing over it. And I said, "Could you give me a tour?" And he said, "Well, yeah, but it's $200." He said, "But it's $200 whether you have one person or you have six people. So, you can fit six people in here." So I rounded up five other people. And so it was not expensive. We each paid $35, and he got a nice tip. And he gave us a tour that went about 6 or 7 hours. And one of the places we stopped was a town where Herman Melville had written one of his famous novels, Type E. But it was also just a, beautiful, beautiful area. And we're walking around and I'm looking at all the flowers and I'm going, oh my God, there's things here I have absolutely never seen. I don't have a clue what they are. I was taking more pictures of flowers. And when I got back, you know, to Wi-Fi, I'm trying to look them up, and some of them I couldn't even figure out what they were because I don't think they made it into any of the flower guides that I, have downloaded.
Yeah.
Um, but spectacularly beautiful. Plus, a woman walks over. She had just cut down a grapefruit. Now, the grapefruit was the size of a volleyball, maybe? I mean, it was enormous. Had a very thick skin. It was not a pomelo because I've been asked that. It's not. This was a grapefruit.
Mhm.
And it was the sweetest fruit. She just, pulled off pieces and gave it to all of us, just to be nice. And it was the sweetest grapefruit I have ever eaten, period. I mean, no question about it. And it's some variety that's local to the area. And I've never seen it anywhere else. And it was fabulous. It was just so sweet and so refreshing, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. Um, Again, you just have to be willing to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, willing to round people up. But as people were getting off the cruise ship, it was like, do you want to go in a taxi? I don't know any of these people. And people going, yeah, yeah, that'd be great. So I immediately got five people, and it was one of the first islands we went to, so we got to be friends on this trip. And then I had people to sit with at dinner every night and hang out with, um, that I wouldn't have, had I not invited them to go on the taxi ride with me. So
Yeah. There's
yeah,
your communal table.
yeah, absolutely. But you know, it's people are really friendly when if you start out friendly, they're friendly to you. I mean, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
occasionally somebody is a pain, but most for the most part, no.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd rather
Hmm.
think about the ones who are fun than the ones who are not.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just having a bad day or something.
Yeah, who
But
knows?
yeah, people can surprise you. Yeah. And like it sounds like a lot of them were in vacation mode too. So
Yeah,
that's right there. You're pretty much golden.
yeah. And I had already done the work for them because I had already found the taxi driver and I had negotiated a price. So all they had to do was agree to pay and, hop into the back of this truck. So,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave us a great tour and we ended up at a beach. There were no footprints on the beach. We were the first ones who'd been there. It was a big circular beach with the views of mountains and the water, and it was idyllic, is what it was. It was truly idyllic, and not a footprint on the entire beach.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you get that with snow, but you do not get that with beaches. And
Mm-mm.
not anywhere I've ever been. How
Well,
cool.
first thing in the morning, maybe if you're
Mhm.
and there's been a storm, yeah, but
Right.
normally not. And there was
Mm-mm.
not a single footprint on this beach, and
My
there were no
goodness.
people around. There was no nothing. It was just in this horseshoe shaped beach, and it was just gorgeous. We went swimming there, and it was
Mm.
beautiful.
Wow. Yeah. I love water. I'm a quintuple Pisces, so we're just water across the board. But yeah, scuba diving. I'm going to Texas later on this year, but if I was going to plan a trip, like go to another country, I would go to a scuba diving place, somewhere I can use my license, get in the water, and go see like a reef. And I loved how their reefs aren't bleached. Like I kind of just assumed that like the whole world was kind of going that direction. So that's like, okay, there's a little hope left.
Yeah. Again, they're very far from everything. I think the Great Barrier Reef has still also got some color. I haven't been
Mm,
there
mm,
to the Great Barrier Reef in a while. When I went there, it was spectacular. Um, Been back in Australia, but not at the reef. but it's a gorgeous place.
Yeah. Okay, wait,
Yeah,
and one more thing. You went to an opal mine
I
one time?
did. I did. Um, that was an adventure. That was in Australia. I decided that we went to Ayers Rock, which is one of the places that everybody goes to. It's in the middle of the desert and it's quite spectacular. But I wanted to go see something that was really off the beaten path. And I was searching around and found a tour that flew you in a private plane to two different opal mining villages. And I mind you, this was many years ago. And we get there, and there were supposed to be six people. And I was traveling with my boyfriend, and the other four people had canceled. So we got a private tour. And we went in this guy's private plane, little four-seater plane. And we take off, and we're going to a town called Andamuka, which I don't think you can even find on a map. And we're flying, and I'm looking down, and I'm going, how does he know where we're going? So it's like, ask the question, how do you know where we're going? He pulls out a road map, and there is one very faint road. He said, "You see that road? Look down. That's the road I'm following." And I said, "And what do you do when there's been a sandstorm?" He said, "Oh, I've been there so many times. I had to go. It's not a problem." And we get there, and the landing strip is literally the desert that has a bunch of like traffic cones around it and a flag at the end. That's it. And there is nothing else, literally. And we land, and he, chocks the plane. We get out, going, now what? He said, "Oh, don't worry, she'll get here soon. You're going to stay there tonight at her house." And I'm going, I mean, and I'm thinking to myself, what have I gotten myself into? What have I gotten us into? However, there comes a car, a station wagon, with dust coming from all around. And it is a woman who owns a home that has an extra bedroom. And so we're going to stay there for the night. The town at the time, I think, had something like, and I get the number wrong, 28, 30 people, something like that. And they live most of the year underground because it gets so hot. It gets to be like 140 degrees, 150 degrees. So you can't live on the surface. So they live underground. And besides, that way they get to mine for opals. And so if they want to mine for opals, they say, "I'm building another room to my house." And so they just dig out. And everywhere you go in this, I hesitate to call it a town, everywhere you go in Andamuka, there are signs and holes, like, be careful, don't fall into the holes, because they're mining to see if they can find opals, and piles of slag everywhere. And our guide took us to meet the town. I still remember his name was Bill, the town character, and he was a character, and he had been there when they founded the town, and told us the whole history. And he was really really an interesting guy. And what do you do when there's a medical problem? Oh, well, we call and they send a plane in. But it was just such an astounding experience. And then of course I had to buy opals, and and as the guide said, she may look like a nice little old lady, but she's a shark. You have to negotiate with her, but you'll get the best prices anywhere in Australia. And of course I bought some opals, and they were magnificent. And I know where they came from. So I was there. And then we went to another town that's called Coober Pedy. And more people know about Coober Pedy because it is a major trading place for opals. They also mine there. And they have an underground church, and they have an underground hotel. And the whole town is like moles or prairie dogs. They live underground. And it was a fascinating place to visit. I mean, absolutely fascinating. So yeah,
Not what I was expecting. An underground village.
oh yeah,
Whoa.
when it gets 140, 150 degrees, you do not want to be outside. And because
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
it's uniformly It's like 65, 70 degrees all year round.
Yeah.
So it was an experience. Want to know how people live in some very odd places. Um, Last December, I was in Norway and again took a cruise because it's places that you cannot get to unless you're on a cruise. Went up um, above the Arctic Circle and seeing these villages that had 6 or 8 houses, no roads. The only way to get in is by water. It's dark. We were there in December and it's dark. I don't know, 23 and hours and 45 minutes a day. Maybe you get a glimpse of the sun. And I kept saying, how do these people live? And I would ask, anybody who worked on the ship, like, how do they live here? Well, in that little village, they keep goats and they make cheese and then they trade the cheese. And in that little village, they have sheep and they knit sweaters. And and I was like, okay. I was like, I couldn't even imagine living like that. I mean, it was so far from anything, especially from New York City. It's like, whoa, okay.
Oh,
You know, I mean, more people live in my apartment building than live probably on the entire route that we were on.
yeah.
It was like, whoa, it just astounded me, just plain astounded me. Um, but they seemed very happy and there were some quite large villages and they live in the dark, and then they live in pure light for part of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, very different way of life.
Oh, yeah, from New York City too. Great point. Oh my
Well,
gosh. Couldn't even
from
imagine.
from
Yeah.
any city
Eh, right. Okay,
or
so
even,
culture shock is like not a thing anymore, but I'm sure it was in the beginning.
oh yeah, the biggest culture shock was when I came home after 3 years, um, and listening, to my parents and my family speak, and oh my God, they have horrible accents because I've been living in London most of it. And I was like, oh my God, they sound terrible. But, but yeah, the beginning I used to get culture shock. Now there's very little that shocks me. I'm fascinated, but I'm not shocked. Um, Very, very little shocks me. But, again, I've been traveling a long time, a very long time. So, and and I still find things surprising. I mean, I just told you about 2 trips that I took in the last year that had, or three actually, that had some very, very surprising things.
Oh yeah.
Um, and that's why I travel. Because if it was all the same, why bother?
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
So
I'm not
cool.
I'm not going to see another McDonald's. I don't need that.
Yeah, yeah. Like sometimes they have like a snack you haven't seen, like a snack that's not American, but why bother? I mean, yeah, unless you're feeling a little bit homesick or something.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
um, that is so, so cool. And um, it's been so nice talking to you. It's been so sweet. It just the stories that you have, and I definitely want to hear more. Like, I'm gonna put your book on my shelf and tell people I'm gonna read it, but you know how I am with books. But
Oh, well, the great thing about the book is that you don't
uh-huh.
have to read it sequentially. Find a
Uh-huh.
country and
Okay.
read about that.
Oh yeah.
Because it does not have to be read sequentially. There's no reason that you need to do that.
Yeah.
And just pick it up and read a chunk of it. And they're not long. Read 10 pages and you will have gotten introduced to somewhere new in the world.
Easy. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. Well,
So, but now
everybody, yeah.
two books. I've got two.
Wanderlust and Travel Mania and working on her third book in the in
Yep.
the world of Karen. Thank you again so much for being here.
My
And yeah, I'll link everything in the bio and Yeah, I just appreciate your time, and it's been so nice getting to know you.
Oh, it's been great fun. Fun,
Yes.
really fun talking with you.
So cool. Okay. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in
You too.
touch.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.